How has COVID changed the avatar, and why is it necessary to update your avatar now? I think there's some trends that are coming out. 3 different things that are changing dramatically now that we're hopefully coming out of COVID. In fact, I was just talking to one of my clients today about the fact that things are not going to go back to normal.
Are your marketing and sales messages falling flat in the new COVID economy? Follow this simple customer avatar strategy and you'll be laughing all the way to the bank. I'm Ken Newhouse. Building a profitable business isn't only about generating leads and driving sales. It's about who we are and what we're made of. It's about finding the most effective methods to persuade, inspire, and ignite the imagination of others so you can succeed in business. If you're a member of the new breed of entrepreneur, I invite you to join the quest as we reveal the newest and most effective methods you can use to get clients now. So what exactly is the ideal client avatar? And how do you create an ideal client avatar? Have your ideal clients been impacted by the coronavirus pandemic? Have the changes in their experiences, opportunities, and outlook had a significant impact on the effectiveness of your marketing and sales strategies? Even worse, have these changes left you feeling confused and uncertain, unsure about how to effectively adjust the way in which you connect, approach, and appeal to your prospects? Perhaps it's time to go back to basics and revisit your ideal client avatar to make sure that your messaging and marketing is aligned with the altered hopes, wants, and needs of your perfect prospects and clients in light of the new coronavirus economy. And more importantly, are you ready to learn new strategies based on information, creative thinking, and methods you can use to effectively address clients' acute needs today and forge stronger ties in the new COVID economy? If the challenges I just described are familiar to you and to what you've been experiencing in your business in the new COVID economy, you're absolutely going to love today's episode because it's going to cut through the noise and confusion coronavirus has infused into the marketplace and demystify the process of updating your customer avatar so once again, your marketing messages and sales process can resonate with your perfect prospects. I'm your host, Ken Newhouse, and I want to welcome you to episode 378 of the Get Clients Now podcast. My guest today is Debbie Ward, CEO of Silver Tablet Marketing and creator of the amazing Fish Tank Avatar Workshop. Fish Tank is a metaphor for the process you can use to create an accurate, up-to-date customer avatar or avatars for your business in the new COVID economy. Listen, everybody knows that COVID-19 has changed people's experiences, opportunities, and outlook. Unless you're one of the lucky few, this shift in perspective has likely had a significant impact on your marketing and sales strategy, your business, and your bottom line. To be effective in the new COVID economy, you'll need to adjust the way in which you connect, approach, and appeal to your perfect prospects. Adjustments need to be made accurately and quickly, and on today's show, Ward is going to show you how to update your client avatar to make sure that your messaging and marketing are aligned with the altered hopes, wants, and needs of your clients, customers, and patients in the new coronavirus economy. Silver Tablet Marketing is a boutique marketing agency that helps small and mid-sized business owners who struggle with knowing how to market their business and create a steady stream of clients through digital marketing. Ward has a long-standing reputation for helping business owners craft a crystal clear vision of who their ideal client is and has a passion for the art and science of digital marketing. So if you're ready to learn what many experts feel may be the most effective method ever discovered for crafting an accurate and updated customer avatar in the new COVID economy, let's go ahead and welcome Debbie Ward in on the show. So Debbie, it's good to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
I am great. How are you, Ken?
I'm doing absolutely incredible. I'll be glad when the presidential stuff is all done and wrapped up so we can get all that, I won't call it nonsense, but just get all the chaos behind us. Maybe once that's done, we can get all the other chaos and get everybody back to work where we should be right now.
Right.
We should be back at work. So anyway, today's about you, and today is about customer avatars. The need and the importance of having a customer avatar. So what I'd like to do is first for our listeners, and by the way, if you're listening to the show, if you're a newer listener, Debbie used to be my co-host, and we used to do a show called Facebook Fridays. So as it relates to this, just a little side note, I want to throw this in. Before we actually get started with the interview, if I need a Facebook expert, if I'm going to recommend someone, and I know a lot of you, Debbie is my go-to person to recommend for Facebook marketing, no matter what size company you have. She's the one I recommend. In fact, I think I just connected you. I don't know how that worked out, but I just connected you with Pamela Wilson. She was a guest on the show. But anyway, do this, Debbie, for the person who's listening who may not be really familiar with you. Take a minute or so, give us your backstory, kind of bring us up to speed of what you're doing now, your company, so we can get a feel for the show.
Sure. Quick backstory is that I never intended to go into marketing. I was a French major, and my aspiration was to be in an international company, working for an international company, which I did. But over the years, my focus morphed into communication and helping people understand the different aspects of the different companies that I worked with. And so I ended up working in a marketing position at the largest community college here in St. Louis. And I worked there for 5 years. That was kind of when social media was really beginning to take off. It was beginning to be used as an advertising platform. And I thought, this is just amazing how targeted you can get, how fast your message can go. And so I really kind of got, really excited about the opportunities that brought. And I did a lot of self-study and ended up diving into the digital marketing arena. And when I left the college, I started my own marketing consulting company called Silver Tablet Marketing.
And that's where you are currently as we speak.
Yes. Yeah.
You're in the bunker, the headquarters at Silver Tablet Marketing.
I am.
6 stories underground, safe and secure from the chaos that's surrounding you. But Debbie, let's do this. What's something about you that people in the marketplace, maybe even your clients, maybe even your best clients or your students don't know about you, but you'd like them to know?
That's a tough question. Well, here's something that not a lot of people know about me, but has definitely impacted my life. I grew up, I have 3 sisters. We're all very close in age, and I have a sister who has special needs. And that had a huge impact on my life growing up. Seeing the difficulties that she had in going through life, she's just a year younger than me. And also seeing how a lack of understanding of her, people's perceptions of her, and being very surface level, and how people judged her just based on appearances really impacted her and gave me insight into what people really look at. And so I think that that's really impacted me, and that I'm definitely very empathetic with people. And I think that helps me to be a better marketing person.
Yeah, that's a critical element to being an awesome marketer. So we're going to speak about customer avatar. I know this is a subject that has been discussed even on this podcast, many episodes. It's been quite a while since we talked about it, but due to the fact that your ideal prospect, your perfect prospect, your ideal client, customer, patient, whatever it is, their needs, their challenges, their concerns in light of COVID-19 have changed dramatically. And so we're going to be talking about some new things you can do to really get your customer avatar dialed in so it's much more accurate. Because if you're using the customer avatar that you used prior to COVID, you're probably not getting very good results. So one of the things I'd like to ask you before we actually dive into that is, what's your first memory of the time or the experience when you came to the realization that, hey, you know what? I've stumbled onto this customer avatar thing. I need to implement this in my business, or maybe for the college you're working for, whatever. Do you remember when that was, when you're like, man, this is really important. I got to use this?
I think there are 2 times when this really came very apparent to me. The very first time was, yes, when I was working for the college, and we were trying to figure out some messaging. And I worked on one campus that was very demographically different than some of the other campuses. And the college struggled with coming up with messaging that was effective on my campus or in my community, because they weren't used to thinking about these different avatars and how they played into the enrollment. So the messaging that we had on our campus, which, I live in the suburbs, so it's a little bit more affluent area, and parents were sending their kids to community college for a very different reason than, say, parents that were closer to the city and, had less choices, were a little bit more financially strapped. Their reasons were very, very different. And so it became very apparent to me that we had to come up with some different messaging for our campus versus the other campuses. Our campus was also the newest campus. And so, that was a little bit of a stretch to begin with. So that was the first time. And then within that, we also discovered that there were other influencers that were in the mix. when parents and students were deciding whether to enroll at the college that we had never spoken to before. So, for example, ministers in churches played a very key role in some of the students' decisions. Guidance counselors, obviously, another key role. Parents, obviously, that's a given. But we had to come up with not only different avatars of students, but also who was influencing those students and trying to figure out where they were coming from. So that was the first time. And then I think the second time was when I started Silver Tablet and I started working with clients, and I would ask people, who's your ideal client? And they would say to me, well, anyone who, and as soon as they started with anyone who, I just internally cringed because I thought they really don't have a good idea of who their customer is. And it was apparent because they were trying to cast this kind of broad net out and kind of desperately, very broad, because they were afraid that if they got very specific with their message, they would not have enough customers, or they really didn't know exactly who their customer was. They thought they did, and we can get into that in a little bit, but they thought they knew who their customer was. But when they really dug down into the objections, into the values, into some of the things that I'm sure we're going to talk about, they really didn't know, and they couldn't be effective in their marketing.
Yeah, one of the biggest things I see when people come to me with their customer avatar worksheet completed, most of them at that point have it. They have demographics. That's it. They don't have pain points. There's so much more information that should go on there that's absolutely critical to your success, especially as I just mentioned, since everything has changed over the last several months. Their wants, their desires, their fears, their concerns, what keeps them awake at night, staring at the ceiling, laying in a pool of sweat. That's all changed. That has entirely changed, whether for the better, I would say in most cases for the worse, it's changed. And so this is why we're talking about an updated customer avatar and the process for doing that. Debbie, on multiple occasions, I've heard you say that a well-constructed, up-to-date, accurate customer avatar functions as a filter for your business. What did you mean when you said that an accurate, up-to-date customer avatar, well-defined, operates as a filter for your business?
So there's 2 points of marketing, and I think one of them people are well aware of, and the other that they're not so aware of. One is to attract people into your business, right? You want to attract people. You want them to understand what you do and how you can help them. The other filter is repel the people that you don't want to work with. And the only way that you can do both of those is if you have a deep, deep understanding of a couple of things. Number one, how do you serve your client and who is the best person that you can serve? And also, number two, who do you want to work with? Who is your ideal client and who do you absolutely dread when they walk through the door? There's always a client out there that you're like, oh, I don't know. In the early days of my business, I made the mistake of working with people that were not my ideal client. And it was very, very painful. So I think the filter is that when you really get dialed in, you attract the absolute best people and you absolutely repel the people that you don't want to work with. And that's a win for both of you.
Yeah, because when you have your customer avatar dialed in accurately, up to date, that's going to allow you to create marketing that's going to actually be magnetic to your perfect prospect. But at the same time, if you do this right, it will literally repulse, not in an offensive or crass way, but it's going to repel the people you don't want to deal with. We all talk about having a character for our avatar. Well, I have a character for the avatar that I absolutely do not want as a new client or a member in my coaching group. I don't know why. I've never picked a guy. It's always been Mary. So when I give an example about the one person, and if your name is Mary, it's not personal. It's just whatever popped into my head. It's always been, hey, I'm looking at my schedule. Oh no, it's not Mary. Not today. Any day but today I could deal with Mary, but just not today.
Right.
We all have a client or a customer or a patient like that. But what's the most important lesson? Not repeating what you've said before, because this is somewhat of a duplicative question, but it's not.
Okay.
What's the most important, practical, real-life lesson you've ever learned, good or bad, as it relates to the customer avatar and the customer avatar worksheet?
There have been several times when I've been working with a client that we've been barking up the wrong tree, which is a very costly mistake. And it has astonished the business owners. I'll give you an example of that. I was working with a man who owns a home health care agency.
That guy's a total jerk, by the way. I'm just kidding. just for the sake of having fun, Debbie and I live in the same neighborhood in the affluent part of West County. We used to see each other all the time.
Yeah.
But with COVID and stuff and everything being weird, and I don't know who her client was. I was just messing with Debbie. So anyway, go ahead, Debbie. Go ahead.
He's a very nice person, actually. And he told me that his client was the daughter. So it would be like someone who's 45 to 55 or 60, who's tasked with taking care of their ailing parents, who is trying to find the best solution for taking care of them while they're still, taking care of their own children, maybe have a job. And he was absolutely 100% sure that that was the person that he was targeting. And really what happened was we created a lead magnet and then we did a Facebook ad, and we found out through that was not who was clicking on his ad at all. It was actually the spouse of the ailing person. So it was a much older demographic that was actually the ones that were looking for help. So he was very surprised by that. He thought for sure that it was the younger person. And we found out that really it was both of them was what it came down to. Some of them were the daughter looking for help, but there were many, many, many spouses that were looking for help that he otherwise would never have targeted. So there's a lot of examples like that where I can think of where it was just, kind of like, wow, this isn't who I thought. I'll give you another example. I worked with a gym owner. And when I first started working with him, I said, okay, who's your client? And he said, well, it's, I work with people who are anywhere between 25 all the way up to 55. And, we have all kinds of people in our gym. Well, as it turned out, we did, I know you're a fan of the Pareto principle, and we kind of did a deep dive into, well, who is really spending the money at his gym? And this was a higher end gym with higher end programs. So this wasn't a $49 a month gym. This was a program that was in the hundreds a month. And so what we really discovered was that his ideal client wasn't the 30-year-old mom that was trying to get her body back after baby. It was the professional 50 plus person who was really interested in safeguarding their health and in making sure that they were active and could enjoy their retirement and enjoy their grandchildren. And they were very focused on the practical aspects of their health, not necessarily getting back into a bikini, for example. That was kind of a big shift for him. And since he made that shift, his business has completely changed. So I think that's the biggest shock, is that you could possibly be targeting, for years, you could have been targeting the wrong person.
So based on what you said about your earlier client, then should I be concerned that the beautiful and talented Lisa has been taking me on field trips to these quote unquote rest homes or old folks homes, however you want to, I'm only 55, but should I be concerned that because she lost her father recently. Yeah. And her mom lives in California or Nevada, actually now in Nevada. So anyway, but from my experience, and Debbie, I'm going to take it based on your experience. It is a rare situation. I've made the mistake myself. It is a rare situation when I start to work with a new client, or based on what you said, that their definition of their customer avatar is dialed in. Mm-hmm. So chances are the person listening to the show right now could stand an update, unless they've just recently done it, could stand an update and a little bit tighter focus as it relates to getting their customer avatar description correctly. So I think it's fair to say that most business owners, as I just mentioned, I don't care if they're a dentist, a chiropractor, a marketer, even marketers. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter who, the brick and mortar business owner, doesn't matter. I think it's fair to say that most of them don't have their customer avatar, in light of COVID especially, don't have their customer avatar up to date, accurate, and really dialed in. Even worse, some of them don't have one at all.
Right.
So from your experience recently or in the recent past, what would you say is like the most catastrophic failure as it relates to maybe losing a ton of money or losing a tremendous opportunity that you've seen, maybe not even a client of yours, maybe somebody you know, they've made as a result of not having an accurate customer avatar? Like they invested. I remember a dentist that I had as a client, I'll just say this quickly, in Portland years ago, 10 years, 15 years ago, probably 15. He invested almost $100,000 in a postcard mailing campaign, which I'd never heard of at the time. And I thought he was, joking around, but he really spent like $100,000 on a multiple step postcard campaign that just went shotgun approach across the city of Portland and the surrounding area. He got 0 new patients out of the deal. So that would be my example. I don't know if you've seen anything like it, but that's kind of what I'm looking for.
I'm going to flip that on its head a little bit and go positive on you. So obviously COVID, right, has changed many, many things. And one of my clients owns a landscape and nursery, very large landscape and nursery company. And in March was almost in tears when he was meeting with me, thinking that his entire season was going to be lost because of COVID. And it's a traditional nursery where you go in and you buy your plants. And I sat down with him and I said, let's really think about this. Your customer, they're higher end clients. I said, your customers are going to be home. They're going to be using their outdoor spaces more than they ever have, but they're going to be fearful to come in here. So what can we do? Knowing your customer well, and knowing that they're going to want to spend money, and knowing that they value the appearance of their yard and the environment that that creates for their families, and knowing that COVID has sort of put the focus on our families and who we're spending time with, and creating those moments, trying to create positive moments out of the fact that we're all staying home. I said, what can we do with your business? What do you think we can do with your business? And he was really struggling. And I said, what if, we borrowed something from some of these other industries, and what if we did a pickup where people could just drive in and get their flowers? And he had never thought about that before. And I said, it works for other industries. It's new to the landscape industry. You can't even do that at Home Depot, which is one of his competitors. I said, what if we tried that? So we did. We made a quick pivot on his website. We created inventory pages. We created a process for them to get the orders and to process the orders and send information out to the customers. And he was beyond busy. In fact, at one point they said, they had orders that were a week out because they had so many people that were taking advantage of that. So if he hadn't known his customers, if he hadn't known the value that they placed on their environment, that's how we angled the advertisement, was up-level your environment, have a place where you're proud to stay with your family, make the most out of this situation. He probably wouldn't have had very good business because people were afraid to go in. They were afraid to go in and buy anything. So that's kind of a positive spin on it. You can lose money, certainly.
You can lose your shirt.
You can also gain a lot of money if you know exactly what you're doing.
The juxtaposition between what you could possibly lose and what you probably will lose, as opposed to, the upside potential of having this done right, having an accurate, up-to-date customer avatar, is unbelievable. And I don't say that lightly. It is literally amazing, the difference between the two. So as we talk about the customer avatar, obviously you build your customer avatar using a customer avatar worksheet. It's probably the best advice you can give. But when you look at the typical person you work with, what elements in their building process, when they're using data sets to describe who their ideal customer, their client, their patient is, whoever that is, what are the primary data sets that they're not including in their description? The ones especially that are critical to the success. So without this data set, you pretty much have a milquetoast customer avatar description, or in fact, you have a useless one. What would that critical element be?
Right. I think there's a couple of different ones that most people never, ever think about. I think one of the biggest ones is what I call the condition of the water when I'm talking about this particular process that I go through, which is called the fish tank avatar. But the condition of the water really refers to what are people's perceptions, not necessarily just of your particular company, but what are people's perceptions of your industry? What experiences have they had that have shaped the way that they view the industry that you're in? And a lot of people don't think about that because they think, well, I'm the best at what I do. It doesn't matter what people think of the industry. But do they have any preconceptions would be one thing, positive or negative.
Can I just inject something quickly? I'll give you guys a quick example. I'm no longer in practice as a chiropractor, but I did for 17 years. And I can tell you that even though I had multiple clinics, I was jammed packed, a 6-week waiting list, 4 to 6 weeks was my average waiting list to get in to see me. Still, I would imagine still today, there is an overriding belief, perception that chiropractors, number one, aren't physicians, which they are. Number two, that if you go to the chiropractor, you're going to, have a stroke or have your neck broken, which is not true, or they're accepted by insurance, which is not true, or whatever. That's a real good example. So me being literally at the top of my game here, in St. Louis and the other areas where I had clinics, I still had to, and most of my marketing, by the way, I think took care of that before they got to me once I finally figured it out. Prior to that, I spent a lot of my time explaining why chiropractic was valid, why it was safe. I used to hear, well, I don't believe in chiropractic. Those kind of people never ended up in my office, in the long run. But I think that's a good example of what Debbie's trying to talk about as far as knowing the perceptions about the industry, maybe not you as an individual or your business, but the industry in general.
Right. And then kind of along with that is, how much do they know? Are they super aware of what you're bringing, the solution that you're bringing? Or is this something that they're sort of going to be like, I didn't even realize I have that problem, but now that you mention it, I do have that problem and you have this great solution. So, and that's of course awareness levels. But that's something that most business owners don't think about because they know they're aware of their solution and they lose sight of the fact that Joe and Mary may not know that you can help them solve that problem. They may be living with this problem for a long time and may have given up on a solution or because they don't think that anybody else had the problem or there is any solution out there. So the awareness spectrum is another thing that most business owners don't look at. The other really important one, I think that people, it's hard to get at. And so most business owners kind of like put it on the shelf is what beliefs do people have? What values do they have? What makes them motivated or demotivated to do something? And I think this has become more and more and more important. And you can tell because brands now have, not only do they market their product, but they market for what they stand for. So if you think about, for example, I just got the Patagonia catalog in the mail and it doesn't look like a catalog. It looks like a magazine. And in the magazine, there are all these articles about what they're doing for sustainability and why they create their products the way that they do, which is very, very important to their avatar because their avatar are people who are extremely environmentally conscious. And so rather than just saying, this is great for this will keep you warm, but, whatever, the actual features of the product, they're positioning themselves as we value what you value. And that's why you should invest in a Patagonia jacket. It's not because it's maybe better than a Land's End one or Columbia or whatever. It's because we care more about the environment and we're taking all of these steps to safeguard our environment while we're producing this quality product. Another example for that is if you think about Amazon right now is doing a lot of commercials on TV. And it's not about the features of Prime. It's not about their web services. It's not about even their fast delivery. What they're focusing on is zero emissions, electric vehicles, all of the environmental stuff because they want to position themselves as being eco-responsible. So, people are, more and more companies are appealing to people's values. And what happens when you do that is you're no longer a commodity. Patagonia isn't a jacket. People are proud to wear Patagonia because when they have a Patagonia jacket on, it says something about who they are and what they believe.
Yeah, same with Tom's shoes. They give a free pair for every pair that you buy. Yeah, it's just another example. There are boundless examples. And in light of COVID, I think with people really starting to now take a look at really what's most important to them in their life. Maybe all the materialism isn't what it's cracked up to be, which I learned a long time ago. The fact that now that, when you can dovetail your belief system and what you stand for with that of your perfect prospect, that's going to go a long way to making you have a much more solid and much more effective customer avatar. Okay, so Debbie, you got a virtual workshop. It's a long-standing virtual workshop, except now this was a recently updated in light of COVID.
Right.
We're going to talk about that in about 30 seconds. But before we get to that, one more question. And I'll say this just before we get to the description of her class. It is 100% guaranteed by me. Personally, my guarantee, again, I have no affiliate relationship with any of my guests ever. So anyone I have on the show, I'm guaranteeing their work, whether it's a book, a training program, a workshop, whatever it is, because I know it's effective and I know it will give you multiples, a return on your investment of not only the money you spend to go and attend, again, this is virtual, but of your time. You can always get more clients, always make more money, even with COVID going on, but you can't get more time. In fact, I hate people trying to waste my time, and that's why I try to respect other people's time. So her program is 100% guaranteed by me. I don't know if you have any other guarantees, Debbie, on it or not. I've only seen rave reviews, and I've known you for such a long time that I implicitly trust you. In fact, I may want to attend myself just because it's new and updated. But what's the one question today, Debbie, I didn't ask that I should have asked?
I think, how has COVID changed the avatar, and why is it necessary to update your avatar now? I think there's some trends that are coming out that...
But wait, I just came up with an amazing question.
Okay.
Debbie, what are some of the trends that are occurring now because of COVID that we need to be aware of so we can update our avatar?
Great question, Ken.
That's amazing.
That's a great question.
I'm gifted like that, just by the way. I have special talents. So anyway, go ahead.
I think there's three different things that are changing dramatically now that we're hopefully coming out of COVID. In fact, I was just talking to one of my clients today about the fact that things are not going to go back to normal. The first thing I think is self-sufficiency and this desire for safety and simplicity, and how that has shifted clients' expectations. And I gave you the example of the landscape company that I work with, but even thinking about the idea of cocooning and how that has impacted what people want when they're home, and then also when they're out. If you think about restaurants, for example, and the open air concept, and in California now they're shutting down whole streets on the weekend so that people can come and enjoy outdoor dining in a more spacious area. Are people ever going to want to go back to what it was before? I don't know. I don't think so. But how can you make the out and about experience better for your customers? What are people now looking for when they go out? How have their expectations changed? And what do they expect now at home? So I think that's one. I think the other big one, and it's obvious, is virtualization and how events, education are all becoming virtual, and people who've never been on a Zoom call suddenly are on Zoom calls, and it's not a big deal anymore. So I think that opens up a whole realm of possibility in terms of what would clients love to see that you can now give them that you were never able to give them before. How can you get into their homes? How can you make things more interactive, including your advertising? People are on their phones all the time. They're looking for ways to engage in a different way. So how can you make things more interactive? And then I think the third thing is, and this has been a trend, but I think it's been accelerated by COVID, is automation. We already expect companies to predict how we behave. And I think now that we're in COVID, we've elevated that to how can you make things more automatic for your customers? How can you make things more predictive? How can you make things easier? People are also very tired and they're worried and they don't need extra steps. So how can we as business owners make it a seamless process when somebody comes in? I'll give you an example of that. My husband went to the doctor for a checkup and he came home and he was really frustrated. And I said, "Why are you frustrated?" And he said, "Why do I have to go into the doctor and answer the same questions and fill out the same paperwork over and over and over and over again when I know they have it there?" And the expectation is when you're online and if you think about checking out, you save your checkout information, you can do with one click. Why can't you one click in the doctor's office? Maybe there's HIPAA or
yeah, it's HIPAA. Yeah. HIPAA, it puts a firewall up to a lot of that. It's insanity, but yeah.
But the frustration is still there. So how can you make things a one-click experience that were never a one-click experience? Just a couple of different things. And I think the last thing is really this idea of a tribe mentality. And like I said before, cocooning at home, creating a bubble. What is that doing to expectations? And then also the gig economy. The fact that we can work remotely now and a lot of people are doing it, how is that going to impact your business? What opportunities does that bring to your business? What threats does that bring to your business? So I think those are some things that business owners really need to think about right now as we come out of this pandemic.
Man, that was a good question that I came up with. I'm so glad that I have that ability. It's a talent, really. It's a gift. But anyway, Debbie,
like you were reading my mind.
It's almost like I'm psychic, but I've been told that. I've been told that I have psychic abilities. I don't believe in any of that stuff, but quite honestly, seems like the last question that I ask from time to time, I've got a pretty good read on that. But if you could take some time tell my listener how they can find out more about you. Tell us first of all, your website URL. Then I want you to take a couple minutes and talk to us about your workshop. Again, it's guaranteed by me, so you can attend fear-free. And for any reason, if you feel like, and let me say this, when it comes to me guaranteeing workshops or coaching programs, you actually have to not only attend, but you have to complete the steps and the activities that Debbie gives you to complete. You can't just say, I attended and it didn't work for me. I want to see proof. If it's a book, no questions asked. But this guarantee requires that you actually deploy and implement what she gives you, show evidence of that. I'm going to leave that up to her to verify that. Go ahead, Debbie. Tell us what we need to know.
Yes, this is the wonderful thing about, you talked about implementation. And one of the things that we did when we designed this workshop was figuring out, rather than this just being a webinar that you go to and you can take notes, this is actually an interactive workshop. So we are live with you in the workshop, and we go through the process of creating your fish tank avatar, is what we call it, the fish tank avatar. But we walk through the steps so that you walk away knowing the emotional hot buttons that you have to push to make buying a no-brainer with your clients. You understand why you need to talk about benefits instead of features, which is a very difficult concept for a lot of business owners. They don't recognize the difference. You will walk away with words to use to grab your prospect's attention. You will know what values you need to be aligned with to create loyalty. And basically, you'll walk away with the information that you need to know how to walk into or to kind of get inside the conversation that your customer is having with themselves as they're weighing whether they should work with you or not. It's very, very powerful. And we do small breakout sessions, and we use the other people in the workshop to help everyone understand their business from an outside perspective. So, like I said, you're going to walk away with all of that. We actually create a document for you, and you walk away with this complete customer avatar worksheet, right from the workshop, right as it ends. So you can start using it right away. It's very, very comprehensive, and it's fun because we're all talking with each other. It's like you were in a live workshop, in a room with us, except that it's just online. We do it through Zoom.
So just real quick, for the person listening who may be slightly confused and think that you only work with people who own aquatic shops, the fish tank avatar, the description or the name of the workshop is more of a metaphor,
right,
based on the things that you're going to be teaching in the class. So this is a workshop for who? Who's your ideal prospect for this type of workshop?
It's a workshop for an established business owner. It works for B2C customers. It works for B2B customers, both. It can work for e-commerce too, although we haven't had any e-commerce people take the workshop yet. And it's for somebody who has a marketing budget. So please don't come if you don't have a marketing budget, because you will walk away and you won't have anything to use this on. But it's for somebody who has a marketing budget, who's been trying to kind of crack the code on their marketing, and they're frustrated because they think that it's the platforms that aren't working. And what they're missing really is the meat of marketing, which once you understand your customer avatar, your messaging is on point, anything that you do is going to have a much higher level of success. So it's for that business owner who is looking for a way to impact all of their marketing across the board. We don't get into specifics of a certain platform. I'm not going to teach you how to do Facebook ads or, LinkedIn or, what you should put on your website. It's not a tactical workshop. This is the basis for all of your marketing, all the marketing that you do. It's going to define your avatar for you. You're going to have defined messaging, and you're going to apply it then to whatever marketing you're doing and make it more effective.
Awesome. What's your website URL one more time?
So the information is on silvertabletmarketing.com/fish tank. And that will give you some background on the fish tank avatar. So if you want to try it yourself, you can. There's enough information there that you can give it a whirl. And then there's information about the workshop itself. And then for Get Clients Now listeners, we're offering 75% off. And so they can use the code GCN75 OFF, GCN75 OFF.
No spaces, no dashes, anything.
No spaces, no dashes, nothing.
All capital letters, though.
All capital letters, yeah. And our next workshop, we do them about once a quarter. It's not something that we do super often, but our next workshop is October 30th.
October 30th. That's right around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't you come on the show earlier? You should have told me earlier. I would have had you on like a month ago, Debbie. Come on. Debbie, what's wrong? What's going on?
Hey, everyone can make time for customer avatar.
Yes, it's an investment of time. So again, I highly recommend that you check out silvertabletmarketing.com. I would suggest that you attend the class, especially 75% off. Do I get 75% off?
Sure.
Debbie? All right, sweet. All right.
You can have 75% off. I would be honored if you came into our workshop, Ken.
I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. And then I want to talk to you after we wrap it. So anything else before we leave you want to say?
Thanks, Ken. It's been an honor to be here. It's awesome to be here again.
After listening to my conversation with Debbie Ward today, I hope you understand how the new COVID economy has dramatically changed your customer avatar and that you can appreciate the need for an accurate and up-to-date customer avatar for your business. Knowing, understanding, and empathizing with the new challenges and concerns your perfect prospects and clients face, and knowing how to adjust your marketing and sales messaging successfully so you can get back on track and get clients now is your goal. Being able to cut through the clutter and noise that runs rampant in the new coronavirus economy so you can create messaging that is magnetic and irresistible to your prospects and clients is all about being able to discover and recognize the challenges and concerns your prospects and clients now face. By having a clear and accurate picture of your client's circumstances, you can more easily utilize and deploy the right strategies and tactics, allowing you to stand out in the marketplace. If today's episode has gotten you thinking about ways you can deploy and benefit from updating your customer avatar, allowing you to create new and effective marketing and sales messages that resonate with your clients' current and new challenges, I want to quickly mention several past episodes that are a great complement to today's conversation. The first one you'll find especially helpful is episode number 349, The Secrets of the Magical Science of Storytelling that generated over 5 million video downloads and a cool million in sales with David J.P. Phillips. Phillips has spoken at TEDx on 3 separate occasions and is considered one of the world's leading experts in storytelling and communication for business and selling. Even when the economy was booming 6 months ago, competition was still tough, and you still had to look for competitive advantage. Now we're in the midst of the new coronavirus economy, which means you need an even more effective method of communication so you can start selling your stuff, as we talked about in today's conversation. You'll find that much of what I talked about on episode 349 works in concert with the strategies you heard today in my conversation with Debbie Ward, including the importance of getting your messaging and communications nailed down if you want to get clients now and make more sales, and episode 349, an amazing complement to today's conversation. I'd also recommend episode number 341, persuasion and body language expert Dr. Kevin Hogan's #1 persuasion strategy that never fails to persuade prospects to say yes. Would you like to have the key that unlocks the decision-making process in your prospect's mind? Dr. Kevin Hogan, one of the world's leading persuasion and body language experts, reveals a half dozen of his most coveted persuasion methods. These methods of persuasion are new additions to his persuasion arsenal and were recently uncovered from cutting-edge research completed around the globe. A quick peek inside this episode reveals the #1 persuasion method for inserting ideas into your prospect's subconscious mind ethically. As the process and strategies for acquiring new clients continue to change in the new COVID economy, communication skills become more valuable, not less. Episode 341 is for that. And then finally, I couldn't talk about maximizing your communication and persuasion skills you can and should be using in conjunction with your new customer avatar without mentioning the work of Doug Stevenson on episode 331, Why Business Owners and Marketers Struggle to Attract Prospects and Convert Them into Paying Clients. 6 months ago, when the economy was roaring, a significant percentage of business owners weren't attracting qualified prospects. Inaccurate customer avatars and poor communication skills were the primary culprit. Even worse was the inability of business owners to convert their prospects into paying clients, which is now an even bigger challenge in the new COVID economy. Doug Stevenson has helped small business owners and corporations like Google and Red Bull create magnetic messaging that attracts prospects and makes converting them into paying clients a breeze, as I talked about in today's conversation. Episode 331, a great complement to this as well. All of those past episodes you can find on our website at www.kennewhouse.com. And before wrapping up, I want to quickly mention that we're in the process of creating a free membership for you where you're going to be able to access the entire library of conversations searchable by topic since 2017. When you become a member on kennewhouse.com, you'll have instant access to my own personal library and the PDF transcript from today's conversation with Debbie Ward. You'll also have access to the notes from other books that I featured on the show for the last few years, plus access to a weekly strategy guide that will come into your inbox every Wednesday. The guide will feature all the links we mentioned on each individual show that links to books, resources, also other podcasts, as well as the most effective strategy we covered on that particular episode. Additionally, the guide will also contain articles that I found online that I know will be useful to you as well. So be sure to listen for the announcement when we launch the new free membership portal we're creating for you on www.kennewhouse.com. And in addition to all that I've mentioned, the first 500 subscribers will get a free digital copy of the updated version of my book, Profitable Again, as well as a copy of my newest book, Profitable Podcast Blueprint. Speaking of world-class marketing and sales strategist, Kate Colbert is my guest next week. Colbert is the author of Think Like a Marketer: How a Shift in Mindset Can Change Everything for Your Business, a book that sold tens of thousands of copies, with 100% of the book's reviews being 5 stars, which is impressive. Colbert is a highly regarded marketing strategist with 20 years of communications leadership inside and outside organizations. She's an accomplished marketer and professional writer who has spent her career telling brand stories that help individuals and corporations communicate their way to profitable growth. So be sure that you're listening to the conversation that we have next week with Kate Colbert. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Have a good week, and I'll see you on Monday. Take care. Bye-bye.
Our objective with this podcast is to help you and your business stand out in the marketplace by crystallizing your messaging, marketing, and communications. On behalf of the whole Ken Newhouse team, thanks for listening.